So I've got this hat on to keep in my large and intrusive pile of hair. Or have I? Hello! Men in Black 3. So Men in Black 3 stars Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, and they're back as the Men in Black until Tommy Lee Jones is erased from time and Will Smith has to go back and save him. And through some plot circumstances, he then goes back to 1969, where he meets a younger version of Agent K, played by Josh Brolin, and now he's against the clock to save his future partner and to save the world. Now let me start with the acting. I mean, Will Smith is great. I mean, he doesn't age. He looks exactly the same and he's still consistently funny. And Tommy Lee Jones too. I mean, he looks old now, he looks withered, but he's still managing to keep his character of Agent K interesting. But I think the character that everyone's talking about is the young Agent K, played by Josh Brolin. I mean, he manages to do a flawless impression of Tommy Lee Jones's character. I mean, it's absolutely flawless. He even nails it down to the mannerisms and the way he looks, and not just the way he talks. But his character kind of has this warm sense about him. I mean, he's more open and more happy about himself instead of the older Agent K. He's more of a real human being. Now in the first scene we're introduced to the villain, and he's played by Jermaine Clement, who was in Dinner for Schmucks, which I actually thought was a really hilarious comedy, and he was a great part of it. But in the first scene he's very over theatrical, and he maintains that performance throughout the whole film. He always seems like he's trying too hard to be a villain. He's just overacted a bit. And in the first scene where we're introduced to him and this over-theatrical performance is given, it kind of sets a really dull tone for the film to start. But I can say, apart from a misjudged first scene, the whole film is... I was laughing all the way through. I mean, about 90% of these gags and jokes worked. I mean, there were a few that were a bit of missed opportunities, but for the most part I was just laughing all the way through, and I was entertained, and I enjoyed all of it. Or should I say most of it. I mean, the set pieces were exciting. I mean, you've seen that part from the trailer when they're on the bikes, that bit was exciting. The third act was very exciting. I'm not going to tell you what happens or what the circumstance is, but it's a really good final act. And the special effects are great as well. I mean, Rick Baker was in it, and he does loads of really convincing and strange practical effects. I mean, he's been doing effects for decades, and I mean, he's done effects for some of my favourite films, such as American Werewolf in London and Videodrome. And all the characters, all the different side aliens, and even the ones in the background, all seem to have their own personalities and unique appearance because of him. And it's not just the practical effects that work, the CGI works quite effectively as well. I mean, when Will Smith first time jumps, there's a great sequence with CGI in which he's travelling through time and goes through different time periods before he gets to 1969. And so the two types of effects work together quite well, the practical and the CGI. Another great thing about this film as well is its narrative. It seems like quite a conventional story, but it has a story arc running through it. There's always constantly something being allured to, and you don't know quite what it is until the end. And it reminded me of like a TV show in that way, which I enjoyed, like something like Doctor Who, for example. And at the end of the third act, it was quite sentimental, and the ending ended exactly how a film like this should. It ended with a great action scene, it ended with humour, and it ended with a lot of heart. And by the end of the film, I wouldn't be surprised if you were a bit like... I was actually surprised how touching it actually was. And there's actually quite a bit of character development as well with all the characters. I mean, from the beginning of the film, how they are to the end of the film, they're quite different, and they've actually grown in themselves quite a lot. And do you know what? I think Men in Black 3 is the best of all the Men in Black films. I know there's a lot of critics out there and a lot of YouTube reviewers who seem to not like this film, but I actually loved it. I thought it was a great, silly, fun, blockbuster entertainment film, and because of that, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. And as usual, if you like this review, just click subscribe and you can continue seeing my reviews.
Hey man, how old are you?
29.
Oof. You got some city miles on you.